This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order this Wednesday, May 20th, 2026 meeting of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners. I would like to note for the record that all 5 commissioners are present in person this evening. If you would all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to note that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted on the Township website for public access. This time, I'd like to ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please review our public virtual meeting rules.
Thank you. The public virtual meeting rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the Board of Commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You'll be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference during the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone and you will have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'll also announce that the Board of Commissioners did meet in executive session to discuss legal and personnel matters on the following dates: on May 13th and prior to this evening's May 20th Board of Commissioners meeting. Moving on to agenda item 4, courtesy of the floor. This is the first of 2 opportunities for members of the public to offer comment on non-agenda items. When I call for public comment, if you would please raise your hand, I will call on you. If you wouldn't mind approaching the podium, providing us with your name and address, and then you may begin your 5 minutes. Are there any members of the public present this evening who wish to address the board? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda 5. Yes, ma'am. We will go back to agenda item 4 briefly. And ma'am, if you could again provide us with your name and address. Make sure the microphone's on so we can hear you clearly. Make sure it's on.
Oh, there, I got it. Hi, my name is Maha Yunus and I live on 2927 Orfield Road. We attended the meeting last week and Senator Coleman attended the meeting as well. And he said he would send a draft of legislation and that the project does not belong at this location. How do you plan on addressing this now that he agrees with the thousands of people of who oppose the project? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yunus. And I will respond. Senator Coleman's staff did transmit a proposed piece of legislation that would allow municipalities to implement a moratorium on the data center use. Our staff has received that. I believe it's been forwarded to the entire board as well. That is a very important part of the conversation. And I think what it illustrates is that, under our system of government, this board is a legislative body of limited jurisdiction, but the state really has the full police power. So as Senator Coleman, I'm not aware if he has released the text of that bill publicly, but once it becomes available, the best thing that residents can do, and we can do this as well as individuals, is contact not just our state senator, but our state representative and encourage him to sign on to that legislation and get that passed and potentially give the municipality, more tools to address. Currently, that question is really up to the state legislature. And I have not read through the text of the bill in full, so I'm not sure how it would impact impending projects. But if there are residents who are in support of that bill, the best thing that they can do is contact their state senators and representatives to pass that bill post haste. So that's what I would recommend that you do as the best course of action. I'll ask.
If that legislation passes as drafted, of course, it'd have to go through the House and the Senate, then yes, that as currently drafted. But what we don't know at the township is whether that draft could go through multiple iterations, right? If and when it passes, we don't know what its final form could be. But as currently drafted, yes, that is our understanding. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Greg Sussman, Victoria Lane. So my understanding is last Thursday, the CDE Acquisitions submitted an updated set of plans to the township, or they were received by the township. Currently on the Planning Commission agenda, there is a singular sketch posted on the agenda. Is that the full extent of the plans that have been submitted?
No.
And when, now that they've been officially added to the agenda, when will they be made available to the public in general?
Yes. So the submission was deemed administratively complete yesterday. We attempted to upload all the project materials, which is almost 200 pages of materials. It actually crashed our website due to how technical the documents are. So we are working on that. We should have it up in the next day or two is our goal, to have every piece of material that was submitted to the township available for public dissemination. We would have had it today, but it literally did crash our website.
Okay. Is there going to be any dispensation made to the public for the fact that we've got an additional 2 days of not being able to gain access to those documents?
I don't know what you're referring to, other than the fact that it was just administratively deemed complete yesterday. And I think at the Planning Commission meeting, they said we would have it posted publicly within 2 weeks of when it's deemed administratively complete. So we're well ahead of that schedule. And we normally don't even post things until it's a week before the Planning Commission. So we're actually ahead of schedule for that as well.
Okay, but it's officially on the agenda at this point, correct?
It is officially on the agenda, and we'll have all the materials posted in the next couple of days, which is, I would just estimate 2 or 3 weeks ahead of our normal schedule.
Okay, by the end of the week. So,
yes.
Okay. And based on the current schedule, when is the earliest that plan would be able to reach the Board of Commissioners, assuming that it passes the Planning Commission and all of the other necessary reviews? What is the earliest date that it would reach the commissioners?
Conservatively, I would say July 9th.
July 9th, no earlier than that.
That is my understanding, yes. The other date that it possibly could be, looking at the calendar, would be June 24th, but I don't see that happening.
I thought the commissioners meeting was June 17th.
Sorry, June 17th, I'm sorry. Looking at it on my calendar, my mistake.
So would that mean that you would skip the Environmental Advisory Commission in that review? Is that a required review?
We are looking to schedule the advisory boards as a separate special meeting, all of them at the same time. So that's in progress.
So obviously we're very interested in when this would be, and the fact that you're kind of waffling on the dates is a little disconcerting.
Because we don't know at this time, right? We don't have the reviews completed. It was just submitted last week, and it was deemed administratively complete yesterday. So we have to go through the reviews. It has to be placed on the agenda. Our consultants have to review it. Staff has to review it. And then we have to schedule a separate meeting for the advisory board council. So that does take time, coordinating multiple schedules. So we're in the process of doing that. There's no waffling taking place at all.
So if I can restate that, the earliest that it would reach the township commissioners would be the June 17th meeting.
Possibly, yes. But we don't know at this point whether
I understand. I'm not asking for a date. I'm asking for the earliest date.
That is the earliest date.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and if I might maybe provide the public with a little bit of an overview of the process, what will happen now between last Thursday and the time this may go before the Planning Commission meeting is almost identical to what happened back from December to February. The plans were received from the township, as Tom said. Our staff, our consultants, our engineers, our attorneys will review the plans and will publish, as they did before, a comment letter. The last one was 101 pages, 340 comments. I have no idea how long this one will be, but it will follow the same process. All those materials will be available to the public prior to that June 11th Planning Commission meeting. And again, just making everybody aware, the original timeline for that plan, was to come before the Planning Commission on February 12th. Assuming if it got approval, would come before the Board of Commissioners that following meeting or the first meeting in March. That didn't happen given the thoroughness of staff reviews. And the staff will give this plan just as thorough, if not more so, a thorough review based on what our staff has learned over the past few months about data centers, public input, reliance on our consultants. So essentially what happens when a revised plan is submitted, it begins the process over again. So the township will endeavor to now do its due diligence and do what it did before and outline whether or not the plan actually complies with our ordinances. So that's sort of where we're at. And as soon as those things are available, we will make them available to the public. And again, as Tom mentioned far earlier than we have for other projects. Yes, sir.
I have Bill Stanley, 2913 Mauch Trunk Road. And I understand everything you just said there. How are you going to notify people if this is happening? Because I thought the original plan, we got these little postcards, 350 feet around the property. Is that what it was?
Tom, if you want to handle that.
Yes, we would do this.
How many people actually got those cards?
Do you know exactly how many people received the cards?
20, 30? Because Jarvis owns everything. There's nobody getting these, nobody's getting notified. That's the problem. There's nobody there. I mean, so if you do the same thing that you did in the beginning, the reason why people aren't at these meetings is nobody knows this is happening. Now it's more prevalent now, but we have a very big meeting coming up in June, whatever. If you do exactly the same thing you did before, put it on your website. How many people look at your website when you really get down to it? How many people receive the Parkland newspaper versus the morning call? And how many people live within 350 feet of yours? Not many. I actually called the Parkland Press. They said 2,000 people in South Whitehall get the Parkland Press, not the morning call, the Parkland Press. So your notification was in the Parkland paper. I would think the morning call has a lot more people than the Parkland Press. I don't know how this can get out, but this isn't a little garage that's being built. This is something that's very important. It's going to destroy the whole northern part of the township. And only 350 feet of the property line are being noticed. That's just not fair. So I don't know what your plans are. That's my opinion. Something has to be done for more notification. Put it on TV, do something. I don't know. I'm not responsible for this. But a lot of people are going to be surprised when this starts. I know you're doing everything you can, and it looks like it's heading in that direction. You know, it's going to be built, but people still don't know it's happening. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Doug Wombold of 3301 Congress Street in South Whitehall here. During the commissioners' meeting of 6 May 2026, President Roth mentioned a document of compiled plan review responses to the applicant's proposal for the data center. He assisted me in getting a copy of that file. It was a little cumbersome on the website, which is not surprising, but I found it and I read those 101 or 110 pages. Not very exciting stuff, but I read them. I've reviewed the township's responses. That was dated 6 February of 2026. I'm encouraged by the thoroughness, quality, and timeliness of the engineering review provided to the applicant by our township. I've used some of the consultants referenced in the township's response in my assignments as a project manager, and the work of these consultants is of high quality. So it's a long-winded way of saying I think it was a good response back to the applicant there. When do we expect a response from the applicant on those comments? I lost I know we're doing other things, but have they responded back?
So the way in which this works, and this is also very important for those who are interested potentially in the June 11th meeting or in the next set of plans, or how they can sort of best focus their comments or their research. So now that the applicant has submitted a revised plan, all of those original documents no longer apply necessarily to the project. We're operating under, a revised plan, a new set of facts, potentially a new set of concerns from the township. The document that you referenced, that the township will produce another one of those. Utilizing not just those we did before, but also, we have a sound engineer that we've hired since that plan. So the applicant will have to answer for those comments and respond to them. That's oftentimes what the planning commission meeting is for the applicant to come before the planning commission and face questions from township staff, members of the planning commission, members of the public. When they will respond to those comments, I don't know, but they have to respond to them. That's part of the process. And
So
I would not expect things to move forward and, until they are responded to and those issues are accounted for.
when you say the response to the original, to our original feedback to them, or only to the new?
Only to the new one, which
Okay.
may include some of the same comments, new comments, more comment. We don't, again, that's what our staff is working on now as quick as they can. Because we're now in the world of the revised plan. And, whether or not the revised plan is compliant with our ordinances, what are potential deficiencies in the revised plan? That's sort of the orbit we're in.
Okay. So it's incumbent upon us to at least reference the old comments and then see if there are new comments on whatever this new plan.
Yeah, and that's what the township staff also, it's part of their job. It's part of the planning commission's job to see, all right, how has this plan changed? Has a new plan addressed some of the previous issues? Has a new plan created more issues that were not issues before, but are now? It's a very labor intensive process, but those are the questions that our staff is going to have to address.
Okay. Just as a general comment, during this period after reading all those pages, I also participated in some regional and statewide webinars on data centers. To put it mildly, there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of angst, a lot of confusion, a lot of rumors in all different directions. I did hear State Representative Jamie Walsh and State Senator Katie Muth give some background on legislation that drives these, and tax exemptions that caused potentially, or a big cause of why these applications are flowing into Pennsylvania, and also some scary sounding legislation about potentially turning data centers into public utilities, which would therefore gain eminent domain rights or grants, if you will, and potentially just bypass local zoning altogether. Again, just a general comment. In my opinion, data centers are not critical public infrastructure because, unlike electrical power plants or sewer processing facilities, the local community receives no direct benefit from data centers. In fact, the local community receives very little benefit from private enterprise data centers compared to the resources that they demand. So, again, we must not assume that permitting data centers is a foregone conclusion. Pennsylvania is not a blank slate for opportunists. It's our home.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments and your questions. And please, as I had said, please be sure to stay up to date on the most recent information. Again, we will post it as soon as we can. And we certainly appreciate the residents who have chosen to educate themselves, not just on the plan before us, but also on the issue more generally. We do appreciate that. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, sir. And name and address, and you may begin your comments.
Right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Eunice, and I live at 2927 Orfield Road. I have a lot here, so just prepare yourself. So at the previous Planning Commission meeting, I raised several concerns about Atlas that were either unanswered or redirected to the applicant. Today, I want to explain why those answers were insufficient and actually left me questioning whether this township can properly handle any project of this scale. At the meeting, I asked about one of the most obvious failures of the PERT ordinance, which is the generator noise exemption. The ordinance sets a 57 decibel operational noise limit, but then exempts generator noise during routine maintenance and emergency situations. When I asked why this is the case, staff explained that the ordinance was written mainly with continuous operational noise in mind, like the humming, and that the township never anticipated a project of this scale would be proposed at this site. That alone should concern this board. Whether we call it an oversight or a failure, the result is the same. The current ordinance doesn't fully account for all of the risks. In response, one board member said that having an ordinance is better than not having one at all, but that was irrelevant to the concern I raised. Better than nothing does not equal adequate. Another board member said that residents should have attended prior meetings, which was also irrelevant. Residents should not be expected to identify flaws in an ordinance before a project is submitted. Yes, public participation is important, but it's not a substitute for expert review by the township. If an ordinary resident can identify a loophole by just reading the ordinance, then this board needs to ask how and why that loophole was allowed to remain in there. By exempting generator noise, the ordinance leaves the loudest part of Atlas outside the protection of the 57 decibel limit. And because the DEP and EPA won't regulate generator noise, this township can't point to another agency to handle that risk. And that is not a minor technical issue. It is an unmitigated public health safety risk written directly into the ordinance. I also want to address the idea that the township may be concerned about being sued by the developer if the project is rejected. I understand that concern, but developer litigation is not the only legal risk here. Pennsylvania's Green Amendment of 1971, which is Article 1, Section 27 of PA's Constitution, gives residents the right to clean air, pure water, and the preservation of the environment. If this township approves a project with unresolved risks, then the township may be exposing itself to legal action by its own residents. Again, approving this project does not eliminate legal risk. It simply shifts the risks onto your residents. And residents shouldn't have to sue their own township to have their constitutional rights taken seriously. When I brought this up during the meeting, I was told this was a concern for the applicant, but I never asked about the applicant. I was asking how the township will enforce our constitutional rights. The next unresolved issue is the protection of private wells. At the meeting, I also asked what written protections would exist for residents whose private wells could be impacted by the construction or long-term operation of Atlas. We know Atlas won't draw from our wells, but that still doesn't address the concern. When I asked about this, a board member said that the applicant would need to answer that question, but that's not the applicant's responsibility. I was asking what the township will require to protect our wells and guarantee that our homes remain functional. I want to remind everyone that the applicant's job is to get the project approved, but the township's job is to protect the public from the applicant. If this township is considering the approval of a project like this next to homes that rely on private wells, then residents require written enforceable protections. And as of yet, we haven't been provided with any, which is another unmitigated public health safety risk. If any of the unresolved risks I mentioned cannot be addressed through enforceable township requirements, then Atlas cannot reasonably be approved. Throughout every step of this process, it's become clear to us that this township backed itself into a corner. And honestly, it's painful to watch because we are the ones who would have to live with the consequences of those unresolved risks. I think I speak for all of us who actually live there when I say that we feel abandoned by this process. At the very least, you guys owe us an apology for putting us in this position. And more importantly, we needed enforceable protections before the consideration of any project in this location. The bottom line is that Atlas was never the problem. It simply revealed deeper problems with this township's land development process. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Yunus. I would say, with respect to our staff's review of the project, and I'll remind the public of what the initial timeline was. The initial timeline was a plan that was going before the Planning Commission on February 12th. Had that received a favorable review by the Planning Commission, it would have been before this board on February 18th for possible approval. That didn't happen. And the reason why it didn't happen is because our staff and our consultants have vigorously defended the township's ordinances, not just the PERT, but all of our variety of tools that we have at our disposal. One of the reasons, and I know that the data center issue has been a significant issue in other parts of the Commonwealth, and I can't speak to other states, but I'll focus on the Commonwealth in particular. And one of the reasons why you see data centers going up so quickly in other parts of the Commonwealth is because there weren't tools there to address it to begin with. And then there were not, you did not have legislative bodies like the board, like a board of commissioners or staff or consultants that gave a proper review to the projects. In South Whitehall, the reason why this has not gotten approval yet is because the staff at the direction of the board has stood up and enforced our ordinances, and we will continue to do so. We're now here in May talking about a June planning commission. Again, it was supposed to be on the February planning commission. It's supposed to be on the June planning commission. It may be on the June planning commission, but the developer always has the right to pull it from that meeting if the staff's review reveals significant issues. So one of the reasons why this is not being rushed through, the reason why staff and the Board of Commissioners is not just looking the other way is because we're really standing up in defense of our protections. And so far that has yielded 340 concerns with the plan, already a 3-4 going on 5-month delay. This is what happens when a township does its due diligence. And had this township looked the other way or not enforced our ordinances, this could have been approved in March. So we certainly want to thank our staff for the thoroughness of their review. And we know that they will continue to do so with future plans as they come for this project and others. Any other public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Cecile Turner. I live on Ware Mill Road, have a well. I'm very concerned about this project. And I do believe that a lot of people don't know what's going on in the township, and I do think we need better dissemination of information. I know last fall, I had a friend from Upper Lehigh Township inform me of the meeting last fall. Otherwise, I would not have known about it at all. So I think you need to do a better job about getting the information out, because I know people are really upset about this.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 5, minutes. 5A, the May 6th, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting minutes have been distributed to members of the board. Are there any questions or comments by members of the board on those meeting minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said meeting minutes as presented?
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Granovsky. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 6, presentations. 6A, we have a conditional use hearing for Core Flower Farm Special Event Venue 2026-601. And at this time, I would turn the meeting over to our solicitor, Joe Zader, to please conduct the conditional use hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. While the applicant and the applicant's attorney are getting their seats, I'm going to brief the members of the public just briefly on what a conditional use is and how the process works, because a conditional use is not something that we see all that frequently in South Whitehall Township. I'd say in the last 10 years, there have been maybe 3 or 4, and I think the last one we had in this township was more than 2 years ago. So this is a public hearing, which I now formally open. And for those of you that participate in periodic township meetings, the public hearing for a conditional use differs from other public hearings that you sometimes see at a proceeding with the Board of Commissioners. It's not like a public hearing for adoption of an ordinance. And it's not like other proceedings in front of the Board of Commissioners. Its nearest kin, if you will, is the proceedings in front of the Zoning Hearing Board. And by law, it's referred to as a quasi-judicial proceeding. It's a more formal process than we have with other types of proceedings in front of the Board of Commissioners. For instance, you'll see that the applicant is seated with an attorney at a table in front of us. We have a court reporter who will be transcribing everything that's taken down verbatim. And it does go to the Planning Commission for review. It's advisory, not mandatory, whatever the Planning Commission recommends. But unlike many other things that are reviewed, it does not go to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. There is required advertising that occurs, and that has taken place here. And the original documentation to back that up is stored with the township. Township staff has that information. Anyone who's going to be speaking this evening, and that would be not just the applicant's witnesses, but anyone from the public who might wish to speak will need to stand up and be sworn in by our court reporter in just a couple of minutes. Any exhibits that are going to be presented need to be specifically marked. And I would note that there are 4 pre-marked exhibits by this board and the Board of Commissioners and township staff and Attorney Fogarty on behalf of the applicant and our court reporter have all received that list. As a matter of substance, exhibits B3 and B4, the last 2 of the 4 exhibits, those essentially are the township packet for this meeting that appear on the township website, and perhaps some of the public has already seen that. For those who are familiar with the proceedings in front of a zoning hearing board, this proceeding is essentially identical to a special exception review and approval or denial, as the case may be. It's not like a variance proceeding, but it's like a special exception proceeding. And by law, special exceptions like conditional uses are presumed to be permitted uses as long as the criteria set forth in the ordinance, particularly the objective criteria, have been met. And that's what brings us here this evening. The decision-making by this board is governed by legal standards. It's not a matter of discretion. It is possible for conditions to be imposed, but there are legal limits within which those conditions must be met. After the proceeding is completed, and what I mean by that is after the applicant presents the applicant's case, after there's an opportunity for members of the public to speak, after the board has asked any questions they may have, legal counsel will have an opportunity to make an argument, much like one might do in a court proceeding or in a zoning hearing proceeding. And then there's a special exception under the Sunshine Act that allows the board to actually deliberate in executive session. Normally executive sessions, and at every single meeting that this board has, there's always an announcement as to prior executive sessions. Commissioner Roth did that this evening with regard to 2 prior executive sessions. But those executive sessions do not allow deliberations under the Sunshine Act. For a zoning proceeding like this, deliberations are permitted, and it's the option of the board whether to have those deliberations or just proceed directly to making a decision. So that's by and large how the proceeding will work. So at this point in time, I'd ask Steve, if you would please swear in anyone who's going to be speaking this evening. Anyone in the public who plans to speak, who plans to ask a question, who thinks they might want to do one of those things, please stand up, and Kevin, whoever witnesses you're going to have here, they should stand up and be sworn as well. I'll ask Chris Stroller, is there anyone online who's expressed an interest in participating, and we need to make sure that they would be sworn in as well?
I have not seen anything in the chat.
Okay. Should that materialize, we can have them sworn in at that point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that having been said, I'd like to turn it over to our zoning officer and director of planning, Mr. Kent Baird, to explain why we're here and specifically itemize the planning commission recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. For the benefit of the board, the applicant, and the public, I'm going to read directly from the memo that preceded this hearing. Hector Lisboa seeks conditional use approval from the Board of Commissioners for the development of a special event venue at 2303 Herman Lane, With approval from the Board of Commissioners, Lisboa will construct a building to host weddings, private events, and other gatherings that benefit from the rural setting and scenery. The proposed venue will include a farm-themed outbuilding with patio and 83 dedicated parking spaces. The subject property is located at 2303 Herman Lane, south of the intersection of Herman Lane and Weir Mill Road. The property includes one single-family house and an approved farmstead and flower farm on approximately 8.96 acres. It's located in the RR-2 Rural Residential Zoning District. Permitted primary uses of that district are specifically listed in the Section 350-24 zoning districts schedules. 2 additional uses are permitted by conditional use, one of which is the special event venue. The South Whitehall Township zoning ordinance does have a specific definition of that special event venue that I can read now or carry forward. Would you like me to read it now for the record?
I don't think it's necessary unless anyone requests it to be read.
Okay.
And recognizing we only have the applicant who's been sworn in, I assume the applicant does not need that read.
Well, in keeping with what our solicitor noted, we did have a planning commission meeting on Thursday, May 14th, where the planning commission did recommend conditional approval for this project. After some convincing arguments from the applicant, from staff reviews, and from discussion held that night relative to the exhibits that they submitted. They have provided narrative language that suggests that they are going to pursue and comply with the standards that we reference for conditional use. They have over the years continued to demonstrate for all of the township their commitment to farming. And especially in some of our reviews, we identify that over the years they've been approved for at-home, no impact-based businesses where they started to develop the marketing strategy of farming and raising flowers for sale, and where they did here get approval for a farm stand, where they then later got approved for an outbuilding, an agricultural pole barn building for storage, and they regularly do get approval from this township for temporary events. So we know that this family has continued to demonstrate their commitment to their farm and their farming experience and how that prolongs farming in this township. So with that, they have met the zoning ordinance. They have achieved a planning commission recommendation for approval. And if you'd like, I can postpone any of the conditions that are listed from the planning commission until after the applicant has presented their case.
I would note for anyone in the public who's following, the conditions that were referred to a moment ago by Mr. Baird are in the board packet at pages 16 and 17. And while I'm sure we'll hear about them as we move on, Mr. Fogarty, I'll just ask you, you're familiar with that document, I assume?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And while we haven't gotten into your client's testimony yet, my understanding from the Planning Commission meeting is that your clients are in agreement with those conditions. Would that be correct?
Correct. In fact, we have them as part of one of our exhibits.
Very good. Very good. Mr. Baird, anything else from your end, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Fogarty.
Thank you. For the record, my name's Kevin Fogarty. I'm a lawyer. I'm here on behalf of the applicant who's seated immediately to my left, which is Hector Lisboa. Next to him is his wife, Melissa Miller. Casey Bond is here from Base Engineering. It would be most efficient. We have 2 exhibits. I have marked 2 of them for the court reporter, so they're part of the record. If I were to approach and pass these out to you, it's going to make this a lot more efficient while you're listening to the testimony to be able to leaf through these materials.
Makes sense. And I assume there'll be exhibits A1 and A2?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And they're marked.
Thank you. I'd like Mr. Baird to make sure he has one if you have enough, Kevin.
I'm sorry.
I'd like Kent Baird to have a copy
yes,
if possible.
Sure. Yeah. I think we're going to be good here. Okay, for the record, the two exhibits, A1 is the conditional use application itself, which I think is also Board 1. If I'm reading the list that was Attorney Zader was kind enough to provide earlier.
That'd be correct.
It's the same document. And Exhibit A2 actually has within it what we'll call 6 sub-exhibits, which I'm going to go through with Mr. Lisboa. Let me start with the conditional use application and use the official one. What is Core Flower Farm Special Event Venue? What is that?
It is a,
And you want to speak up?
sure. Hello, thank you for having me. It is an event venue that is to be constructed to help support the flower farm, our small business.
Okay, and just for the record, because we have to make a record here, what's the address of that property?
2303 Herman Lane,
And how many acres is that property?
8.95.
And what is presently on the property?
Presently on the property is a home and an existing small building that is basically like an existing pole barn we use for the farm. And then we have our farm flowers also.
Okay.
Yes.
And within the applicant's Exhibit 1, is there a copy of the deed from when you acquired the property?
Yes, there is.
And you acquired it in your name alone in 2018?
Correct.
And does that exhibit also include a copy of the tax assessment?
Yes, it does.
And in fact, it has everything that's required by the township to be submitted for a conditional use, correct?
Yes.
Does it have in it the drawings of the proposed building?
It does.
All right, we'll get to those in a minute. Let me go to what we've marked as A2. This is the bound document. I'm going to go back and forth between these to some degree, hopefully not too confusing. Do you have a copy of this?
Yes, I do.
Okay. A2 is, again, at the front, it has the deed and the tax assessment records confirming your ownership, the size of the parcel, that information, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Exhibit 2. Let's start with the first page of that. These are the color photographs. Can you, perhaps holding it up, point to the board members what is shown in the 2 pictures on the first page?
So these 2 pictures actually show our existing farm, what is there now. So we have 3 sections of specialty cut flowers and perennials. We have a custom 170-foot rose trellis, and then approximately an acre of English lavender. On the bottom of the top picture, we'll have 2 high tunnels, 16 by 50. One is full of eucalyptus that we grow, and the other is a small little workshop and a section of chrysanthemums.
Okay, and that's what it looks like now.
Yes.
Okay, and just to orient the board, where is the house, if you can use either of those 2 photographs to point it out?
If you're looking at the top picture, the house is directly in the middle up top. So it's past the tree lines there.
And that's where Herman Lane is?
Yes.
That you would enter to get to the house?
Correct.
Okay, let's go to the second page of the photographs. I'm not going to dwell on every picture on every page, but generally, what does this show?
So the second page of pictures actually shows where me and my wife got married on the property, the first picture. It also shows to the right of the pictures, the rose trellis with its foliage. And it also shows a yoga event that we had permitted through South Whitehall. And I believe that actually might be one of the fundraisers we did for the Kids Cancer Association also. So, and the bottom is some of our flowers.
Okay, and the third picture? Or the third set of pictures?
The third set of pictures, again, everything here is on the farm. We make oils, as you can see on the top picture there. That's Melissa. She's the magician with the oils and things like that. We had a little dinner for our wedding underneath that rose trellis with some light in there. You'll see another yoga event in the middle and more of our farm.
All right, let's stay with that exhibit for right now. Sure. Would you go to the third exhibit within that, within A2? We're going to walk through those pages. It's titled on the first page, proposed building plans. You have that?
Yes.
All right, now the first page within that exhibit, what is that?
So this is a aerial view of the property. If you look at it towards the back of the property is where we're actually proposing the parking space. You'll see where we're proposing for the event venue, a potential stormwater management area. And then you could also see the existing flowers.
And just so it's clear, what color is the area where the event venue would be?
I want to say it's almost like a mustard color. Also, I forgot to mention, we do have some hedgerows there to have consideration for our neighbors. And we did that to help block any unnecessary.
Okay, are those, the hedgerows you refer to, are they there now or are they proposed?
They're proposed.
Okay, so those are the green areas around the perimeter of the property.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, do you know how many parking spaces are proposed for this use?
83 parking spaces.
And I know we're going to get into it later with the conditions. When we came before the Planning Commission last week, did you agree that there would be a cap on the number of people who would attend any of the events?
Yes.
And what was that number?
130.
Let's go to the next page within sub-exhibit 3. Now, these are drawings and renderings, am I correct?
Correct.
The rest of the pages here?
Yes.
Explain to the board, if you could, what these are intended to show.
So the rendering of the pole barn itself will show that we're looking to maintain the characteristics of the rural setting. So that would be the rendering here that shows the actual building.
That's the first page of that
Yes.
exhibit. All right. Next page.
Next page is.
Well, let me stop you for a second
Sure.
because I don't think we covered this. I know the application says that the square footage of the building that would be devoted to the event center use is, I believe, 3,800 square feet.
Yes.
But the total size of that building would be what?
7,300 and change.
And what would the rest of the building be used for?
Agricultural storage.
In other words, storing vehicles and tools and equipment and things like that.
Correct.
Okay. And when you mentioned the 83 parking spaces earlier, are they sufficient to comply with the parking space requirement for the square footage of the building that's going to be devoted to the event center?
It is. Our engineer actually added the whole building. According to the ordinance, I believe it's one parking space per 100 square foot. So he added the complete building, not just the event center. So there is more than sufficient.
Okay, let's just go through these drawings quickly, not in great detail, but the next page, is this a front view of the proposed building?
Yes, these are elevation.
By the way, what do you do for a living?
I'm a commercial builder.
Is this something that you're going to build?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and the rest of the pictures that follow are different drawings relating to various aspects of the building and the dimensions of the building.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
All of which would be dealt with at a land development or building permitting process, correct? The specifics of which?
Yes.
Okay. Would you take a look at what is marked as sub-exhibit 4 in exhibit A2?
Yes.
You have that in front of you?
I do.
Can you hold that up so the board members can see what you're looking at? It says on the front, 4 Flower Farm Handbook, correct?
Yes.
And who developed this?
My wife.
And what was the purpose of this document?
So this is a well thought out process on how we would like to conduct business and put some rules, not only, just put in some guidelines for the potential clients, given your permission.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
That would also reflect the township ordinances and rules.
Right. So when we came in last week before the Planning Commission, we had basically the same handbook, correct?
Yes.
And is this the document from which the conditions that were recommended by the Planning Commission came from?
Yes.
basically.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And if we turn then to sub-exhibit 5 within A2, it's titled List of Conditions. Do you understand what those are?
Yes, I do.
And what's your understanding? Is this what the township, after we came to the planning commission meeting and sorted through the handbook of what were specific objective criteria that they wanted compliance with, this list was created?
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
That's sub-exhibit 5 in A2, correct?
Yes.
And have you read through all of those?
Yes, I did.
And are those all agreeable and acceptable to you?
They are.
Okay. Now, if you could turn to sub-exhibit number 6 within A2. Title Project Narrative. You have that handy?
I do.
All right, now you're familiar with the fact generally that the township's ordinance has what are called general requirements for a conditional use. And then there are specific requirements that relate just to the event center.
Yes.
You're aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. And when you prepared this project narrative, which by the way is part of your application, correct? The original one you submitted in December
Correct.
of last year.
Yes.
Okay. So did you go through those specific sections of the ordinance? And for the record, they start with section 350-18, subparagraph B, and then subparagraph 1. And then underneath subparagraph 1, there's capital A through capital L. That's what you looked at. You looked at those requirements and you created, within this project narrative, you grafted those into here and you explained your position on each one of those items, correct?
Yes.
And you explained how you saw this particular use on your property as meeting those criteria. Am I correct?
You are.
That's
Yes.
basically what you did.
Yes.
So as an example, and let's skip the first one because that's in the other section, the more specific criteria. I'm going to get to those in a minute. Stick with the second one, which is public health, safety, and welfare under section 350-18, small b, parens 1, parens capital A. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. Starting there and going through the next 2.5 pages, did you take subparagraphs A through L and go through each one of those general requirements under the ordinance and explain in this document how you believe this project complies? Did you do that?
Yes, we did.
Okay. For the benefit of the board, rather than have this gentleman sit here and read these to you or recite them off the top of the head, I'd ask you to consider that as to these general requirements, he's explained in considerable detail in this project narrative how the property meets that project. And I think from the position of the planning commission and township staff, I don't think there's a dispute in that regard. On subparagraphs A through L.
I would just note for the board, legally proceeding as Mr. Fogarty suggests is perfectly fine. Since this is not a court proceeding, but quasi-judicial, but since the board has had this in advance, you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions and get clarification on any aspect of that when the presentation here is finished.
Okay, thank you. Again, the goal here is to streamline this, particularly on non-controversial points, and particularly because I don't think there's any objectors, but maybe I'll be proven wrong. Okay, so if we go into the ordinance, section 350-48, subparagraph 14, there is, and I'm going to take you back to the first page of the project narrative, that one we skipped over at the beginning.
Yes.
All right. 350-48, small s 14 is titled Special Event Venue. That's from the ordinance. That has the definition that was alluded to earlier, although not read, it's in your ordinance. And is there any dispute that what you're proposing to do meets the definition, Mr. Lisboa, of what the special event venue is?
No dispute.
Okay. Then if we go further down, we see that in the RR2 district, that particular use is allowed as a conditional use, correct?
Yes.
Then we get to subparagraph D, titled minimum off-street parking calculations, taking you back about 10 minutes ago, where you indicated it was one space per 100 square feet of total floor area.
Correct.
And that's where you indicated that Mr. Bond from Base Engineering had used the entire square footage of the building, even though your special event venue is only a little more than half of that.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. Then we get down to subsection E, which basically provides that for a special event venue, there are other specific requirements beyond those general requirements we talked about that were in the other section of your project narrative, correct?
Yes.
And did you address these other items in the first item that's called size, type, and frequency of events of the project narrative, right below the introduction portion?
We did with the handbook.
Okay, so let me just go through the ordinance and make sure that we've covered that. First, it says the applicant shall submit evidence of the size, type, and frequency of events. All right, let's be clear here. Although I think the narrative in the first paragraph talks about the types of events, why don't you tell the board what types of events you're going to have there?
We're looking to host boutique weddings, gatherings, events to help support the farm itself
Okay,
and share its beauty.
and what, we talked about the size, you said no more than 130, is it 130 or 135?
130, I believe it was.
Okay. For some reason, I have 135 in my head.
It might
but-
be 135. I apologize.
Okay.
135. Yes, it is 135.
Okay. And so that covers the size, the type. I didn't ask you about frequency of events. How often would you plan on an annual basis? How many events would you have there? And by the way, are you willing to agree to that as a condition?
We're looking to host no more than 30 events per year. Since the farm is a seasonal situation, 30 is more than adequate. And we are looking to do one event at a time. Yes.
Okay, so that covers size, type, and frequency. The next requirement is the owner or operator of a seasonal event venue shall not permit any preparation of food or drinking in the parking areas. Can you explain to the board how food and alcoholic beverages and other beverages would be handled at an event of this type? And if you want to refer to the handbook, feel free.
If you don't mind, let me get to that portion. So we are not looking to cook any food on site. We are we are enforcing that it would be almost a catering type for food and a licensed caterer with the health department and city business license and whatnot. Also for alcohol, it would need to be a licensed vendor as well. No open bar, none of that things, everything.
All right, and the last specific requirement under section 350-48, subsection S, subsection 14, EII, actually III, is to accommodate temporary parking needs. Temporary seasonal off-street parking areas may be established if you're prepared to do that. In the unlikely event you would need that, particularly given the number of parking spaces you already told us you have.
Yes, we're willing to comply with all. Yep.
Okay. I believe actually I'm done. I'm going to move for the admission of applicants' exhibits 1 and 2.
They're accepted.
And I don't know if any board members have any questions for Mr. Lisbell.
Any board member have a question, feel free to ask. Mr. Glanowski.
Just a couple of questions. You mentioned that your special events are going to be seasonal. What months does your season run?
Yes, May through November.
No more than 30 during that period of time. Nothing in the winter time then? Mentioned in terms of wastewater treatment, you would utilize sort of event trailers, that type of thing, to address restroom facilities during a special event?
Yes.
Do you anticipate or are you looking to put up any additional signage on your property to?
No, we actually want to keep the aesthetics of the neighborhood the same. It's not necessary.
I mean, I've driven by there a couple of times. I didn't even know you were there, but
That's the beauty of it.
that's, and it is a beautiful property. So thanks. That's all the questions I have.
Any other commissioner?
I just have one question. You mentioned that you don't plan to have continuously operated or more than one event at a time, particularly for larger events that get closer to that 130 number, weddings and so forth. Do you plan to have more than one a day, one per day? And if you do have more than one per day, allow for some sort of ideal transition time if you have different vendors coming on and off your property, or maybe that's not even an applicable concern.
No, it's not. An event at that size, it's one at a time. By the time they set up and time and then break down. One is more than enough. So no, we will not have.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other board member? Now that the public has heard, Mr. Fogarty, did you have any more witnesses?
I don't have any other testimony. If a period of brief argument, if you want to call it that, we appreciate it. Sure.
Public has had an opportunity to hear anyone who wishes to speak. You can argue.
Yeah, I understand you may not, I guess there a lot, you haven't had a lot of conditions. The legal principles. Basically, the same standard as the zoning hearing board applies to a special exception. The idea being it's really not an exception. It's something that's granted so long as the applicant meets particular requirements of the ordinance. And sometimes you get into cases where there are objectors and there's all kinds of issues of who has the burden on the specific objections, who has the burden on the specific criteria, who has the burden on the general criteria. We don't really have any of that here. What you have is a record where through Mr. Lisboa's testimony, and if you look through the various exhibits, they meet all the general criteria. No one here saying there's going to have an adverse impact on health, safety, or welfare or anything like that. And they meet the specific criteria. So I'd respectfully submit to you that the applicant is burden of proof here and should be granted this. Do you have any questions for me?
Does the board feel the need to have an executive session to discuss?
I see no need, but I would defer to fellow commissioners. No need?
In that case, the board president, if you want to entertain a motion.
Thank you, Solicitor Zader. In fact, I will, unless there are any other questions or comments, I will make a motion. I believe that the applicant has met the general and specific standards set forth in our zoning ordinance, and I would move to grant a conditional approval.
I'll second.
A second from Commissioner Johns. Are there any?
Before there's a vote, when you say a conditional approval, by that I assume you mean it's an approval subject to the 17 itemized conditions that have been recommended by the Planning Commission.
That is correct, as set forth in our memo this evening.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the board before we act on this motion? Any questions from the public or online? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5 0. Mr. Lisboa and Ms. Miller, best of luck with your project.
Thank you.
I will just note also, it's been well presented. One of the things you'll see when the written decision comes out is, and I'm sure Mr. Fogarty has or will explain this to you, this is an approval for the use under the zoning ordinance only. There's still land development to be pursued, other ordinance compliance requirements that weren't addressed this evening that would need to take precedence in your moving forward as well.
And I will piggyback on Solicitor Zader's comments. I've sat through one previous conditional use hearing as a member of this board, 2 more complex conditional use proceedings as a member of the public. This presentation was excellent. It's a model for how all applicants should proceed throughout this process. The credit goes to the applicant and you, Attorney Fogarty. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
He's a nice guy. An excellent witness.
My wife did most of the work.
Have a good evening. Moving on to agenda item 7, resolutions. 7A, we have a resolution to award the pension contract, and I will ask our township manager, Tom Petrucci, to please explain recommended action on this item.
Thank you. So the township did receive 8 bids under the RFP that was put out for the non-uniform and police pension RFP. And we actually scheduled interviews with the 4 finalists last Thursday, and those were completed. And, you know, we need a little more time at this point to review all the criteria and, you know, to make a recommendation to the board. So I'd ask to table that decision for this evening so that the pension committee and staff can collectively review and make sure we're making the best decision for the township, since this is a very important decision for the long term.
Thank you, Tom. I will open it up to any board questions or comments on this agenda item. Any from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to table the award of the pension contract?
So moved.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Granovsky. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 7B, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, authorizing execution of a master services agreement with Barry Slater Incorporated, doing business as REPT for a civic engagement and communications platform. And again, I'd ask Mr. Petrucci to please present.
Thank you. So the township has been evaluating additional ways to improve communication and engagement with residents through our website and digital platforms. So REPT offers an interactive chatbot and community engagement platform that allows residents to quickly obtain answers to township-related questions through a simple conversational interface available on the township website. Put simply, it really helps people to navigate the website to kind of glean information from the front page much more efficiently. So that would be things like meeting information, programs, land development plans, road work, refuse, recycling, parks, and other municipal topics that, you know, you basically could type into the chatbot, where would I find plans for Project Atlas? And then it would come right up. We evaluated this platform and looked at and spoke to other township officials that have been using it, and it's a relatively new platform. Not only does it allow you to have the chatbot access, it allows you to have quick video snippets that can get information out in a timely manner to help disseminate things to our residents. So it's a 1-year term from May 1st through April 30th of 27. Total cost is $11,520. Weighed against, you know, other alternatives of you know, hiring a public information officer, things of that nature. It's actually more cost effective. So we would use our existing platforms and, you know, the website, and then, like I said, just help pull that information out much easier. And we are also currently working on upgrading our website as well. So unless there's any questions, I would ask for a motion to approve the resolution authorizing execution of the master services agreement with Barry Slater Incorporated, doing business as REPT for a civic engagement and communications platform.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom. And I would say, as we continue to hear questions about accessibility information, I want to thank you and staff for your foresight into looking into investing programs such as this, as well as with the general website update. I think that will be very beneficial and for a lot of our residents looking to learn more about our complicated processes and the important work that the township does. I did have one question. So that the agreement, the contract does run May 1st of this year through April 30th of next year. How soon do you believe, assuming this is approved tonight, could we have this up and running for our residents to use?
Within the next few weeks. So we're trying to time it with when the website will be updated. This on its own could be posted on the website, and then it learns our website within 2 days. And then people would be able to interact with the chatbot at that time. As the chatbot learns the website more, and the more questions are submitted, that then helps staff on the back end, because we'll get to see the types of questions that are submitted. It then helps us to generate content for repeated questions, which I think is very helpful, because a lot of times you don't see on the website what's being asked, right? So people are maybe typing in searches, and this is more interactive. So the technology itself is very, very quick. We're trying to time it, though, make sure it's being put on the front page of the website when we're going to roll out the new website. So within the next few weeks.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any other questions or comments from members of the board? Commissioner Felling-Ricker.
I would just say that I did take a few minutes to look at the examples that you had shared, and I went onto the Cheltenham site and the Soulbury PA site, and I probably played along with that for maybe a half an hour, and it was excellent. It really was pretty impressive, I have to say. And I want to agree with what Commissioner Roth said. I think it showed a lot of foresight on the staff's part to hear what our residents are saying. I know that's something that I have voiced when I came on board, that I feel like we need to have another way to communicate with our residents. And I want to just thank you very much for hearing us and taking action. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we do listen, and we try to and endeavor to improve our services whenever we can. And this is a great example. So I appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Are there any other board questions or comments on this agenda item? Any from the public or online? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution authorizing execution of a master services agreement with Barry Slater Incorporated, doing business as rep for a civic engagement and communications platform?
I'll make a motion.
A motion from Commissioner Felling-Ricker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 7C, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township to submit an application to the U.S. Department of Transportation Safe Streets for All, SS4A, grant program to provide funding to conduct supplemental planning for the Hamilton Boulevard State Route 222 safe crossing analysis. And I'll ask our long-range planner, Mr. Chris Stroller, to please present.
Thank you, Commissioner Roth. For a little bit of background for the benefit of the board and the public, last year the township adopted the South Whitehall Transportation Plan, which is both the active transportation plan for the township, also the Vision Zero Safety Action Plan, looking at safety on our roadways. This plan identified a number of high priority corridors for the township to consider looking at safety improvements. One of those corridors was Hamilton Boulevard, State Route 222. Throughout 2025, the township received a grant from the DCD local share account to conduct what is called a road safety audit on Hamilton Boulevard. We partnered with several entities on this road safety audit. The road safety audit essentially is an independent study of what are some of the potential safety issues on a particular roadway and what are some potential countermeasures to address specific issues throughout the study corridor. Township worked with Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, who is the owner and manager of the road, the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, who is the metropolitan planning organization providing regional transportation planning and transportation funding to the area. Lehigh Northampton Transit Authority, or LANTA, who operates in the bus service, including enhanced bus service to that particular location, particularly in front of Dorney Park at the entrance, and with Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom, who is the majority landowner adjacent to the roadway. The independent consultant, CDM Smith, was hired by the township, worked with all these partners to conduct this extensive road safety audit and identified several concepts to identify some of the specific safety measures. One of these concepts of particular note is to look at an at-grade pedestrian crossing in front of the entrance to Dorney Park, which is an area that this particular countermeasure could address several of the issues we noticed throughout the safety study. So the next step would be to refine exactly what that concept of an at-grade crossing could look like and traffic control measures and so forth in conjunction, again, with all of those partners. It is a PennDOT roadway. There's a lot of other partners involved. The U.S. Department of Transportation has the Safe Streets for All grant program, which has been operating for several years now, funded by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. This grant funding program does support projects looking at safety, and staff believes would be an applicable grant opportunity to continue that safety analysis of an at-grade crossing and provide preliminary engineering to further along this longstanding safety issue. The SS4A program, as I mentioned, has been ongoing for several years. This is the last year that we are aware that funding is available unless Congress authorizes more funding to that program in the future. And based on preliminary conversations with the partners involved, we believe that this would be a good opportunity to pursue funding to conduct that additional planning and move forward on the preliminary engineering. It's a quick turnaround. The application is due on May 27th. Based on our kind of preliminary estimates for the scope of work that we've laid out, we're looking at around $400,000 for a total project cost. The Safe Streets for All program will fund 80% of the project cost, with the other 20 coming from some sort of local match. So staff is requesting a resolution for the township to apply for up to $320,000 for the SS4A program for this project. The additional match that's required, which is at $80,000, would need to be committed in the future if the grant was awarded. It would be, staff is looking at whether this can be identified through partner contributions, matching grant funds, or contributions from the township, but we would not be necessarily making that commitment today. We would come back if the grant is awarded and discuss what the necessary financial contribution would need to be and what other opportunities are available there. Essentially, the program would help us to move forward a project. PennDOT is not an eligible applicant for this program, so the township is really leveraging our partnership through all of the planning here to step in and be the applicant and to try to move forward on this very complex project with a lot of partners. So unless there's any other questions, we would request a motion to apply or to pass a resolution to apply.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any questions from members of the board? Questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution to submit an application to the U.S. Department of Transportation Safe Streets for All grant program to provide funding to conduct supplemental planning for the Hamilton Boulevard Safe Crossing analysis?
I make a motion.
A motion from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 7D, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township appointing Michael DiGeronimo of In-Town Design Studio LLC to serve as the architectural design peer review consultant for the Planned Innovation Research and Technology PERT District. And again, I would ask our long-range planner, Chris Stroller, to please present this item.
Thank you, Commissioner Roth. From time to time, the township does enlist the assistance of additional third-party consultants to provide peer reviews for specialized projects and specialized land development plans. We've done this on occasion. Through the adoption of the Planned Innovation Research and Technology District, the PERT District, as we call it, in October of last year, this district also included specific architectural design guidelines which were presented at the time of the adoption and are listed as an attachment to the zoning ordinance. These design guidelines were prepared by staff, but mostly in assistance with Michael DiGeronimo, who is a principal of a consulting firm, In Town Design Studio, LLC. Michael has extensive background in both planning and architecture and has been excellent in supporting the development of the PERT district design guidelines. We initially engaged with Michael to assist with the development of the Jordan Valley design guidelines overlay, which are still in process. Now that the PERT district has been adopted, staff is requesting that we appoint Michael DiGeronimo of In Town Design to be a third-party peer review consultant for any projects submitted underneath the PERT district to provide peer review for any of the architectural requirements that now the PERT district has within the zoning ordinance. As with any land development plan, we always have consultants, engineering, utility engineering, and other specialized components. This would be to enlist Michael to be engaged on any projects that are submitted under the PERT in accordance with the hourly rate schedule that is provided in your packet. So we are requesting a motion to appoint Michael as the architectural design guideline peer review consultant specifically for the PERT district.
Thank you, Chris. My one comment would be, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it is important, particularly with complex projects and complex uses, to utilize as many external review consultants as possible. It helps our staff better understand and apply our ordinances and uphold the protections that are in place. And certainly Mr. DiGeronimo's experience in consulting speaks for itself. There are a number, if the public would be interested to look in our agenda item packet, it does reference several notable projects in communities across the United States, from Pennsylvania to Georgia, that he has been a part of. So I certainly would be in favor of adding his voice to the team as we navigate these complex issues. I'll open it up to any other questions or comments from members of the board. Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker.
So I guess I have a couple of questions and maybe concerns. I do agree with what Commissioner Roth said. Having additional sets of eyes is really important. And since this individual already participated, I wonder having a new set of eyes, a fresh set of eyes, and do we maybe not owe that to our residents? Sometimes one brain's great, but like 5 brains are even better, right? Having multiple people looking at this. To be frank, I was one of the people sitting in the audience a few months ago before I was sworn in, and I was asking questions. And I actually wrote down the quote that one of the gentlemen said earlier, and it was, they were told that it was better than nothing, and that does not equal adequate. And I just want to make sure that we are doing what we need to do for our residents. And so I'm wondering, appointing somebody that's already participated and has already seen eyes, if that's really the best avenue for us to take.
So I think one of the reasons why we're suggesting we go with Mike is he prepared the guidelines. And when you prepare a document like design guidelines or even a zoning ordinance, there's often interpretation and intent. So having Mike, the author of the design guidelines, he knows what the intent was and can argue that intent in his reviews. That's one of the reasons to do that. The other is somebody else would have to pick that up and learn the design guidelines, may not be as familiar with intent from the guidelines.
So sorry, I understand that, and it makes sense to me. But at the same time, several months ago, there were many residents that voiced concerns, right? And at that time, I was not an elected official, and I was running, and I put my concerns out there. So he had his viewpoint, and I just wonder if it would not be better for us to look at another viewpoint, just to make sure that we have all of our bases covered for the residents of the community. I'm just going to keep coming back to that because I've heard residents voice concerns at multiple meetings since last October, prior to me coming on and being sworn in January. And when the first PERT ordinance was adopted, the former board said, well, we had to get this on the books. It was very urgent, and we can come back and revisit this. So, I do agree that there should be a third-party review. I think that's really important to have somebody else, but I do wonder if it shouldn't be a different individual.
I actually have a question for Dave and Chris. This is limited. Mike's review will only be limited to the architectural design standards, correct?
That is correct. And specifically, what he would be doing is reviewing any project submitted for consistency with the design guidelines that he prepared. So as of right now, In-Town Design was hired to prepare the guidelines. Any architectural submitted are now under just staff review to determine consistency with those other architectural design guidelines. We don't have any architects on staff. This is similar to other, I believe in the past, we have had architectural consultants for other required architectural design guidelines in other overlay districts. I don't know if.
Yes. So in the T&D overlay with the design guidelines, we use the person that prepared the design guidelines to evaluate projects against the design guidelines. So it's pretty common practice, at least in the township, to, not that we have many design guidelines, but the set that we do, we use the consultant that prepared it to review for consistency with those guidelines.
And I just wanted to clarify, so Mike will not be assigned projects that include reviewing consistency with noise standards,
correct,
environmental impact studies. Like his scope is quite limited, and we would not necessarily rely on him for those.
No,
items.
It's solely for the design, consistency with the design.
Okay.
You appointed Metro for the noise.
Correct.
Yeah.
And can I continue? There's one other piece. I noticed that he is from New Jersey, and I did look at the rates. So there's a travel expense as well, and he's not close in New Jersey. It's not like Phillipsburg. We're talking, I believe it was Summit, right?
That's correct. There's no
so
travel
it's about a
involved.
$300 round trip kind of, I'm sorry?
There's no travel involved. It's in his rate schedule, but there is no intent for
Okay,
him
there's
to.
no intent for that.
Correct. We have consultants and we have consultants for all kinds of, we have a lighting consultant, for example, that I don't believe has ever set foot in the building. So they review land development plans under the same timelines that all the other consultants do. They provide a consistency letter. That letter gets included in the planning commission's review. This would be the same as that. He would provide a consistency letter with the ordinance, the architectural designs that he prepared.
And it's also under our subdivision reimbursable account, so it gets billed to the applicant.
Okay.
So is architectural design then really limited to building aesthetics?
Aesthetics, form, there's some like form-based stuff and articulation of facades.
But he doesn't get into like building materials or anything of that nature?
There is some material information in the design guidelines.
It's mostly related to exterior materials.
Exterior, yes.
Peaks.
Essentially what you're
things like
looking
that.
at.
Okay.
I think it's the primary facade, so things that are facing outward.
It's very helpful. Thank you for entertaining those questions because I just feel this is a very important topic for our residents. And I want to make sure that I am being thorough and I'm representing them. So I appreciate you listening and responding. Thank you. It's important.
There is a body of knowledge being developed other places when you look at building design and building structural materials that sort of serve as sound buffering and that sort of thing. And is that an aspect of what he looks at, or is that for somebody else?
I mean, he's not getting into like the dampening levels and the engineering behind it, but as an architect, he has an understanding that wood is going to absorb some more noise than glass. And I think in working with him in developing the guidelines, those are some of the concerns that we built into these guidelines. Try and use natural material. Account for some of that buffering.
Dave, and given his role as a peer review consultant, and I know there were issues with design guidelines with some other notable projects in the township, he would be the individual who would say a plan comes in, and maybe it's a close call as to whether or not it complies or does not comply with our architectural standards. I mean, he would be the individual who would provide the township with the documentation to say, and would probably be in the best position to say, no, the standards submitted by the applicant do not comply. And then he would also be the one that would argue that if we called upon him to do so,
I
correct?
suppose that would be when travel would come in, is if they had to appear and provide testimony.
But he's someone the township could use if the township wanted to defend our architectural guidelines in the PERT zone. You know, if an applicant did not comply or tried to make an argument to the contrary and go around the board.
Yeah, if appointed, he will get the current application signed off on.
Thank you. Any other board questions or comments, or from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution appointing Michael DiGeronimo of In-Town Design Studio LLC? I already called for public comment. Nobody raised their hands. Did you raise your hand when I called for public comment? Mr. Sussman, if you'd like to briefly address us before we move on to motions. You have to approach the mic, sir. And for future guidance to the public, when we call for public comment, please raise your hand. We don't really want to go back.
With respect to the updates to the PERT, and to the commissioner who was asking about having the original architect review the documentation again on the second review, I would say that it's probably a worthwhile endeavor to have a second independent review of that, in addition to contacting the relevant experts, acoustic experts, environmental, all of that, as opposed to having a single person draft that legislation and then have their report and their summaries folded into that as a matter of course.
Thank you, Mr. Sussman. I would agree, and I would say that so far in the past 3 months, we've brought on a noise expert, potentially tonight a peer review expert for architectural guidelines, and I anticipate that we will also explore other opportunities for, as Mr. Sussman mentioned, some of the environmental related issues, other noise related issues, as we move forward. And those would almost inherently be individuals who are not involved in the creation of the PERT because the architectural guidelines were something that we really did have to outsource, as we have no architect on staff.
Absolutely. Well said.
Thank you, Chris. Any other members of public comment? Is there a motion to adopt said resolution appointing Michael DiGeronimo of In-Town Design Studio LLC to serve as the architectural design peer review consultant for the PERT district?
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? From Commissioner Johns. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Agenda item 8, motions. 8A, we have a motion to approve Pennsylvania Municipal League membership, and I'll ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present.
Thank you. So I'm recommending that the board authorize approving Pennsylvania Municipal League. So it's a nonpartisan municipal advocacy and service organization representing local governments throughout the Commonwealth. So its primary function is for legislative advocacy, professional training, labor relations assistance, cooperative purchasing opportunities, utility procurement, grant assistance, and other support programs. For 26, normally dues would be $6,745.60 for the year. What they do for new members is kind of ease you into the dues, so there's no fees for this year. Like I said, primarily the benefit to this would be legislative advocacy for local government matters. Included in the membership is the Public Employer Labor Relations Advisory Service membership, which we already pay separately. That would be reducing the overall cost once we get through the dues offset. So unless there's any questions, I would seek a motion to approve, and then we can begin to reap the benefits of the membership.
Thank you, Tom. I certainly am in favor of approving this. The Municipal League has a storied and stellar reputation of not only providing municipalities with resources, but also serving as an effective voice in Harrisburg, which is something that we continue to discuss at length often. Are there any other questions or comments from members of the board?
I concur, Commissioner Roth, with their legislative advocacy, given the number of bills that we've seen even this year to usurp local authority for zoning. I certainly am grateful the township is moving forward with this avenue, so I would certainly support this as well.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve Pennsylvania Municipal League membership?
Make a motion.
Motion from Commissioner Kelly and a second from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8B, we have a motion to accept the 2026 Comprehensive Plan Reexamination Report as presented. And again, I'll ask Chris Stroller to please present.
Thank you, Commissioner Roth. The Comprehensive Plan Reexamination Report is an exercise that staff and the Planning Commission go through each year since the adoption of the initial Comprehensive Plan in 2023. The purpose of this is really twofold. One, to provide a general update on the tracking the implementation items identified in the previous comprehensive plan and or in the adopted comprehensive plan, and make adjustments as necessary. And then the second component is to evaluate the initial goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan with the current status of essentially the community and anything that could influence those goals from outside sources or essentially programs of the township and so forth. So I invite anyone interested in previous reexamination reports. They are listed on the township website. The current reexamination report has been presented to you. This was recommended for approval by the Township Planning Commission last Thursday. And I will say the 2026 report is really more focused on that latter item of the evaluation of the impacts. We've seen a number of impacts to not just Pennsylvania, but locally, just highlighting a few, obviously one being the prevalence of data center projects in the area and how not only through what the township has already done with the adoption of the PERT ordinance, but some of the other connections to other aspects of the comprehensive plan housing, both regional housing strategies and state housing initiatives, along with some major land developments in the area. For example, the Eli Lilly site in Upper Macungie. And I think the approval of the open space referendum and the township's goals for open space preservation have all identified aspects of the initial goals of the comprehensive plan, but we asked of the Planning Commission to comment on how we think we can continue to move forward those goals in dealing with some of these outside influences. So really, I think I'll kind of point to maybe the last page, page 19 of the report that talks about some of the priorities for moving forward to address some of these major issues. I will say, for more of a status update on the detailed implementation items, the 2025 reexamination report, the report we went through last year, really, we spent a significant amount of time with the Planning Commission breaking down all of the individual steps. The original comp plan had about 26 implementation items, mostly broad items, and we continue to develop those items. So if anyone's interested in kind of where we've been going, I invite you to look at the 2025 plan and the 2026 plan. We, just for brevity, have kind of addressed more of the how can we deal with some of the existing outside influences. So we're just asking for a motion to accept the reexamination report. It doesn't have any official policy associated with it. It's more of just a checkpoint of where we are as a township and a way to really more so engage both the Planning Commission, the Board of Commissioners, and the public to give them an update on where we go with the guidance of the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Chris. I'll mention I was cleaning out my desk the other day and I found the 2025 reexamination report that you had printed for us. I'm impressed by the progress. And as you and Dave know, one of my very pointed concerns back in 2023 with the comprehensive plan was that, you know, it's one thing to plan, it's another thing to do. And I'm grateful that your department, at your direction, you're not just planners, you're also doers. And I am very grateful for that. And let's just keep this moving as expeditiously as we can. Any other board questions or comments?
I just have a comment. Thank you to staff for this reexamination report. For the benefit of the public, the last comp plan prior to this one sat on the shelf. And the work that you've done since this was adopted 3 years ago to bring it before planning, before the public in our Board of Commissioners meetings, so that the community is aware of the importance of the items in the comp plan, that we are working toward those goals, and the diagrams that you've included in this, charting with the different colors, really highlights exactly all of the work that you're doing and how it's all tied together. So I applaud you and all of your team. Thank you for keeping our community updated.
That was one of the issues that we've had. We had the comprehensive plan and the original implementation items. And those implementation items may have just been, you know, adopt a plan, but a lot of things flow out of that. And then in some cases, they come back together into another implementation item. So those diagrams were really intended to kind of show the path and how things are moving together. Some people have teased me about it. That is the diagram of a madman, but I promise you it's not.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Any other board questions or comments? Any from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the 2026 Comprehensive Plan Reexamination Report as presented?
I'll make that motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Granovsky. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Abstaining from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. That motion passes 4-0. Agenda item 8C, we have a motion to cancel the Wednesday, August 5th, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting, and I'll ask Tom Petrucci to please present.
Thank you. So the upcoming meetings and events are as follows. Sunday, May 24th, 7 p.m., Allentown Band Memorial Day Concert.
Tom, this is the
Oh, I'm sorry.
motion, agenda item 8C. No problem.
So we're requesting to cancel the August 5th Board of Commissioners meeting due to conflicts, scheduling conflicts. Seek a motion to approve that.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any commissioner comments or questions on this motion or from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to cancel the Wednesday, August 5th, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting?
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Gonofsky. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8D, we have a motion to approve the purchase of the Axon Virtual Reality Training Simulator. I would ask Captain Steve Brown to please present this agenda item.
Thank you, Commissioner Roth. In 2025, the police department entered into a 5-year contract with Axon for the purchase and maintenance of 47 Taser 10 less lethal tools. A critical feature of the Taser 10 system is the ability to create time and space to de-escalate and resolve conflicts, decreasing the likelihood to escalation to lethal force. In addition, the Axon support tools provide detailed insights of Taser use to inform better policy, training, and transparency. To that end, Axon provides a virtual reality simulator that follows a structured progression of empathy-driven learning and communication. The recorded VR scenario range from observation and de-escalation to high-pressure simulations of real-world calls for service. Thanks to the work of Township Manager Tom Petrucci and command staff, the purchase of the Axon VR training system will be mitigated in full by a grant by State Representative Mike Schlossberg. As the purchase of the Axon virtual reality system was previously included in the approved budget in 2026 capital budget at the December 3rd meeting 2025 by the BOC, the police department is respectfully requesting permission to purchase the Axon virtual reality system for $65,179.04.
Thank you, Steve. I'll open it up to any commissioner questions or comments on this item. Seeing none, I'll just have two. First, I want to thank Representative Mike Schlossberg for assisting us in getting a grant to mitigate the cost. And I will say that virtual reality technology is already in use by the Allentown Police Academy. The technology that they use for training is excellent. If you ever have an opportunity to experience that, I recommend it. So I think this will be of great benefit to our officers. I support this. If there are no other commissioner questions or comments, I would ask for any questions or comments from members of the public. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the purchase of the Axon virtual reality training simulator?
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Best of luck to the police department.
Thank you.
Agenda item 9, correspondence and information items. 9A, boards and commissions, informational items and vacancies. And I'd ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings are as follows. Sunday, May 24th, 7 p.m., Allentown Band Memorial Day Concert, Springhouse Middle School Auditorium, 1200 Springhouse Road. Monday, May 25th is the Memorial Day holiday. Township offices are closed. Wednesday, May 27th, 7 p.m. is the Zoning Hearing Board. Monday, June 1st, 7 p.m. is a Public Safety Commission meeting. Wednesday, June 3rd, 10 a.m. is a Civil Service Commission meeting. And Wednesday, June 3rd, 7 p.m. is a Board of Commissioners meeting.
Thank you, Tom. Moving on to agenda item 10, courtesy of the floor. This is the second of 2 opportunities for members of the public to offer public comment on any non-agenda items. Are there any members of the public in person or online who wish to address the board? Any online? Dave or Chris? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 11. I would seek a motion to authorize the payment of our invoices and disbursements.
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Gonofsky. Any comments from the board on those? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We have no executive session scheduled for the remainder of this evening. This time I would seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Johns. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. This meeting is adjourned. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.